Okay, so now that you have some idea of what you want to do in terms of your offense a little better, let's talk about what you want to do when your offense fails and you take damage. This is an area where I see a lot of players that are starting out just get exposed and blown up and eat way more damage than they need to because they just don't know what their best options are. So I've got Jackie here set to do a move that's going to knock me down and put me in a knockdown state. A lot of times, since mashing the buttons and moving the stick actually does help you get up a little faster, you see that a lot. You also see it in terms of people that want to attack when they get up, because you can either use a kick or a down and kick for a low sweep attack to attack your opponent while they're getting up. And that's all well and good. It can interrupt their offense if you read it right and time it right. But the problem is that it's incredibly easy to see coming. The motions are extremely dissimilar for either mid or low, and so the amount of time it takes for any character to get up and do these attacks is really easy to read for the most part. There are some of them that are deceptive. Akira has a low punch that looks like he's going to do a mid. Leon has a move where if his head is facing you when he's knocked down, he can do an overhead kick where he rolls up off of his back, and that's really difficult to read too. But for the most part, your wake-up options of kick or down kick are not good. You really shouldn't be doing this unless you're 100% positive that you can get the damage. And so one way that I would recommend you handle this situation is that you get up without attacking. And you can do that by using the punch and guard buttons to do your mashing as you get up, because there is no attack built for either of these, and plus you can get up guarding if the pressure is still in your face. So, you know, that way you can get up a little faster, you can block the next incoming attack, and then punish it appropriately. It's going to force your opponent to back off with the pressure and not be so aggressive when they score a knockdown. The problem with this is that they can still get down attacks in. And I'm going to try and re-record this really quick here to show you what I mean. So that's a little extra damage that you get on knockdown. I'm going to re-record that because I messed up the first part. And you see a lot of characters when they're a lot of players when they're first getting started with Virtua Fighter, they use these down attacks a lot, either with up and punch or down forward and punch. And the thing about them is that they're really just incredibly unsafe. So if your opponent is using these attacks, you should be doing your best to stop them. So if you get up, it's kind of hard to get up in time by mashing. And so the way that you combat that is by tech rolling. And tech rolling is something that you should be doing probably about 98% of the time. It looks like this attack might have an untechable knockdown, so it's not letting me do it. I'm going to see if I can't still rise fast enough to get and block that. It doesn't look like it. Okay, so that's a bad example. Let me set him up with a different attack here. His famous backflip. So I can get hit by this, and it's going to put me in a launch state. By hitting all three buttons, as soon as my character hits the ground, I quick rise. You can do it neutral and get up standing in place. You can do it with up or down to roll to your appropriate side. And you can also, I believe, okay, so forward doesn't do anything, and backward doesn't do anything. So those are your three options, in place or to either side. And why this is great is because it keeps people from extending combos on you or getting in those extra down attacks, because you're able to get up faster. So I'm going to record this again, show you what I mean. Get the backflip kick in, and then go for the down attack. Now, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to tech roll, and see it actually messes up his input entirely, because that attack only comes out when your opponent is laying on the ground. But even if they're close enough or fast enough to get in the down attack before you have a chance to fully rise, you're going to be able to block it, and you're going to be able to punish it big, because they're very slow attacks. They're very easily punished. So that's like a 2-in-1 lesson, is that tech roll when you get launched, when you're about to hit the ground, you're almost always going to want to rise as fast as you can, and you're going to need PKG to do it. But in addition to that, if your opponent is going for the down attack, then don't let him get it. Block it and punish it. And the other side of that is that if you do get the knockdown yourself, maybe go for the down forward P down attack, which is a little bit faster and safer, or don't do it at all and just work on wake-up pressure games that you can use to keep your opponent guessing as they're forced to get up in place. If you're not comfortable with hitting all three buttons at once, or especially if you're playing on a controller, by default PKG is mapped to L2. I strongly recommend, if you're playing on a controller, to keep a finger on that button at all times, because it is so important, not just in use in the game, mostly for changing stances, but because you really, really, really want a quick rise as often as possible. The last lesson that I want to impart, that's a little bit trickier, it's a little harder to do, is to sidestep. Because while you can block things, and if they have enough frame disadvantage, you can punish it fairly easily, if you sidestep it by tapping up or tapping down, you'll have even more advantage, even on the most safest of attacks. And it's harder to time because you're not guarding, you're going to be at a risk, you can't hold guard while you do it, but if you're able to time it right, then you can punish it even better. And I'm having a hard time with the recorded settings of Jackie here. There we go. So see, I'm able to block that, or evade that backflip and just get huge punishing damage off it because he's already still in the air. And you can do that with any move. You can do it with a neutral punch. You can sidestep any move as long as you time your motion correctly. So it's a bit more advanced, but it's something that you want to be aware of as a tool that you have at any given time, because it is going to make your game that much better. If you are willing to take the risk, much like parrying and third strike, the reward is great, because you'll be on their side, you'll recover very, very much faster than you will guarding any attack, and it works against any linear attack. There are, of course, spinning attacks that cannot be sidestepped or need to be sidestepped a specific direction, and that's something you just kind of need to learn as you face each character's matchup. But either way, be aware that you can sidestep, that it's a great tool to punish attacks, and work on that so you can start using it comfortably mid-matches. So, just a quick recap. Poking, P and 2P, very, very important. Difficult against Jackie when he has a auto punch counter. So I'm going to set him to guard real quick while I take care of this. And just give you a quick recap. Pokes, P and 2P. Universal to all characters, typically considered their best moves because they're fast and they're safe. There's really no downside to using either of them. 6P when you need to close a little distance, or when you want to hit someone who's blocking low. Dashing is the preferred type of movement in Virtua Fighter, and a sidestep is considered a dash, sort of, so it's a lot better, of course, than 8-way walking to try and evade an attack. It's just not going to work. So dash all the time if you need to move. Crouch dashing is preferred. You can do by diagonal down forward or diagonal down back twice, as opposed to forward or back twice. Get up off the ground without attacking. Use your P and G buttons to do that, because they are not mapped to rising attacks. Unless you're 100% positive that you can use either of your rising attacks to hurt your opponent if you feel that they've overextended themselves. Tech roll all the time using PKG and either up, down, or neutral, depending on how you want to get up. It's going to save you from guaranteed damage, it's going to save you from down attacks, and it's going to get you back in the game faster. There are some instances where a character might expect you to tech roll, and they will keep you locked down, so bear in mind that there are some rare instances where it's better to stay on the ground for a little while, and that's just part of the mind game of this game. It's not always a good thing when you're being hit to keep yourself from being hit less. You just have to try and fake out what your opponent thinks you're going to do. And lastly, tapping up and down to evade attacks that are linear. They don't always work. Some are half spins and some are full spins, but just do that, get comfortable with doing it, play against the arcade mode computer a little bit, and just read their attacks and try and sidestep out of the way in time, it's going to give you a huge chance for extra damage and side turn combos. So that's my advice for you. Those are the 5 tips that will make you a better Virtua Fighter player overnight. Should take about 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours if you're practicing, to really integrate them into your game and get comfortable with it. If you have any questions for me, or questions about Virtua Fighter, the lessons here today, or other things that I haven't covered that you'd like to see me cover in future videos, let me know in the comments, and hopefully you learned something today. So I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching, and keep playing Virtua Fighter.